Hi, friends. We at GLC would like to take a quick moment to thank you for watching our programs on this platform, and we'd like to ask you for a little favor. Would you please go beneath this video and click the subscribe button? Did you know that by simply subscribing to the GLC YouTube channel, you can help us financially support the programs on this platform? You'll need to be signed into YouTube beforehand. But if not, simply click the subscribe button and YouTube will automatically walk you through the steps to sign in or to create an account. By taking these simple steps, you will not only ensure that you continue to receive our unique programming and gain instant access to the hundreds of videos we post, but more importantly, you'll also be telling YouTube that GLC's content is worth watching and promoting. Likewise, if you enjoyed a specific program, please click the thumbs up button below, which also helps inform YouTube that this is a program worth recommending. Finally, once you have logged in and subscribed, please click the notification bell below in order to receive announcements when we post new content. As usual, feel free to post your questions and comments in the comments section below. We always love hearing from our friends and viewers. Again, thank you for watching and supporting God's Learning Channel. We couldn't spread the message of the gospel without you. Be blessed, and we hope you enjoy the show. Welcome for another great Light of the Southwest. I'm your host, Brent Fricker, with some really incredible guys, ministry family, powerhouse, and besides that, a world-renowned oilfield artist, Bob Callender, of Callender's Gallery and Framing here in Midland. And he's got a son with him who works with him, young Samson, Zack Callender. How you guys doing? Good to see you.
Good to see you, Brent.
Good to see you, man.
Good to see you. Thank you.
Guys, I'm really excited today. You know, Bob, every time we get together, our favorite thing to talk about is Jesus.
Absolutely.
And you know, what better thing than to talk about Jesus? He holds it all together. He's the only one that makes sense. And here we are, but I was excited to talk with you guys last night. You know, Bob, you've always had a vision. You and I know what it's like at the tail end of the Jesus People movement.
Yeah.
And we haven't forgotten those days. This youngest generation, they're starting to see some of this stuff. But Bob, I wanted you to come on and have both you and Zack, you know, your family works together at Callender's Gallery. Incredible artwork, a place of peace, a place that even when you moved into this newest place, you wanted to facilitate Jesus people coming together. And let me tell you, the world needs its Jesus people back. It's happening. And I believe something great is about to happen as well. You're already doing some great things, but catch us up, Bob, on what's happening with the ministry and with the gallery.
Well, there's been a lot of fun things going on. I mean, you know, we've been having a deal that we've been getting together once a month, and there's been some really powerful things that's been going on in the gallery. So it's kind of a neat thing. It's nothing like having church,
right,
per se, in an art gallery, and it's a different experience. But it's also been really a neat place because people feel comfortable, and it's a different way of, you know, you're not in a church.
Yeah.
You're in a business. And one of the things that we were passionate about and that we've really enjoyed about it is this, the hunger that people have for the Lord. And it doesn't matter, you know, what denomination they're from or what church they're from, or what people they are. I mean, their curiosity is there. And, you know, the curiosity of, hey, church in the art gallery, or, you know, at the same time, just the hunger for the Lord and that passion and seeing that in people has sparked things inside of us. And it makes me remember what it was like whenever I first got filled with the Holy Spirit. And,
Oh, yeah.
And the crazy charismatic movement that went about and the recklessness that they went after it. But the thing I loved about the recklessness was that they wanted something real. They didn't care what grandma and grandpa had. They wanted their own experience, and they were experiencing it through drugs and all sorts of things that they were trying to figure out what was real.
Yeah.
They wanted something spiritual.
Right.
We were looking in the logical side of things, which is what we've been taught for so long. And that's so important. But the only way that we can experience God is not through our intellect, but through our spirit. We can understand a little bit, but we can't figure out, Well, even the simplest thing, right? My eldest son, we were driving down the road, and when he was little, he would sing, and he would just sing this song, and he's sitting there going, "God made this, and God made that," and he stops in the middle of this, and he's probably maybe 3, maybe
Wow.
4, and he stops and he goes, "Dad, who made God?"
Wow.
And we can't fathom that,
Yeah.
but our spirit man can.
Wow.
And I think that sometimes we over intellectualize a lot of what we do. And I love the simplicity of what the Jesus movement was about. It was
Yeah.
just this reckless abandonment. If God's real, I want to experience it.
Start on a beach,
Yeah.
baptizing people in the ocean. And then it went to a building. And that's great. Christy and I, we have faithfulstream.com. And of course, we're tied in with GLC as well. Love God's Learning Channel. Love the people. But it's wonderful just to see what's happening across the body of Christ. And we want all pastors and all churches to do well, to reach people.
Absolutely.
If you want to reach people for Jesus, I'm in. I'm behind you, but there's a lot of things to navigate right now, it's a very interesting time. While we have a lot of things coming to light, there's a lot of ministries that are under the radar. They're being exposed.
Yeah.
For some falsities. There's whistleblowers. There's a whole new genre. With the Trump election, you had a whole new genre of independent journalists exposing, and Doge exposing corruption in the government. Well, now you have a spiritual Doge going on as well, with ministries and churches and things. People that have done great things for Jesus, but unfortunately, there's things coming to light. And, we're told in Hebrews 13 that judgment begins with the house of God. But at the same time that what is in the dark is coming to light, there's this fresh movement of Jesus people, the boomers and the Xers who are being revived. But there's a new generation that are hungry for more. And that brings us to your son, Zack, who I'm very impressed with. I've always been very impressed with him. And just a sharp young man. He is who he is, on and off camera, as are you.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful, Zack, to have you, because we get to hear not what we speculate, but we get to hear what your generation is needing, is wanting, is hungry for. So, Zack, in light of the Jesus people talk, man, what do you guys need? What are you hungry for? What can we do?
Well, I've seen a lot of my friends and a lot of the community that I've been around, for my generation, they didn't have the best childhood. They didn't have people that they could trust. They didn't have a good family life a lot of the time. I'm seeing it more and more. And whenever I think about that, like, most of what I see them needing is just someone that they can trust and just love. They're missing that love in their family and love in their friends and people that they can trust. And they're finding that in God, at least in my group and the people that I'm around.
That's cool.
I love it. It's music to my ears, man. 'Cause let me tell you something. The generation right above you was in trouble. And of course, Generation X, raised on hose water and neglect, right? That's what we say. And of course, I have to say the best music decade of the 80s, but that's just me. But I can't tell you how much it thrills me, though, to hear you say that. They're looking for authenticity.
Exactly.
The buzzword used to be relevance. We want to be relevant.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, we saw that, this is just my opinion, we saw the church slide into a consumerism mentality.
Yeah.
Where instead of, I want to encounter God and fellowship, learn the word and have the presence of the Lord and learn how to be a light where I am, it was more come to the show, not all, but Mario Murillo talks about that, the skinny jean fog machine, big screen. No shame, no blame if you use that to reach your community. That can be great. But the enemy of the best is the good.
Yeah.
The best thing is, even if you use those tools, we've got to have and be the light of the world. 9/11, that was a wake-up call for a lot of us. Everyone rushed the churches, but they went right back out the door because for some reason, the Starbucks, the Disneyland, and the rock concert were great, but something did not keep them engaged. They went right back out. However, here we are years later. Isn't it wonderful that once again, people are coming together in clusters, in homes, in businesses, in the marketplace, in the highways and byways? That's how it started.
Yeah.
That's how it started. And so we want those pastors and churches to do very, very well.
Yeah, we do.
But we also want to see the bride, the ecclesia, the called out ones, to come together for this hour. Darkness does it. Darkness does it. Witches do it in covens.
Yeah.
The enemy does it. Terrorists do it. You know, the sleeper cells that didn't exist. Now the same people are worried about them. Well, guess what, folks? We have our own kingdom cells. May we not be sleeper cells, you know. But when you say you're hungry for that, does your generation not respond to a fatherly type of figure? This is the first time, according to firstpriority.global, that young people's peers are not the parent, not the coach, not the teacher, not the pastor, but each other. And if you're both wondering and looking, how does that work? What can be done?
In my experience, they're finding it in, like, I go to a young adults group at my church, and the leaders there have kind of stepped in and been that person for a lot of them. They've been able to find that through the community that they've found. Their friends bring them there, and they find that love and that connection that they need, and that's just changed their lives completely. They've just been searching for it, and it takes a lot of time to build trust with everybody, and they're being consistent, and they're actually getting that connection. It's just awesome to see.
You know, Bob, it's music to any man's ears when his sons or daughters want to work with him.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's a true gift. It's one of those things that I don't take that lightly. It's something that I know is a gift, and people come in and tell me almost every day, "Oh, your family works with you. Your sons work with you," and I'm like, "Yeah, they do," and it's awesome. At least today they're here with me today, you know, and I've enjoyed that. In fact, Zach and I get to go do a lot of stuff together. Zach's my second shooter, but he's also my right-hand man when we go out in the field, and not only for photography, but also when we're out selling and we're out talking to art galleries and different things. There's been some shifts in how we kind of go after that. And we actually went to Houston a while back, and it was fun because we got to meet the CEO of Apache, and it was just neat to bring your son with you to meet somebody that, you know, that's a pretty big dog if you know, kind of go after things. And at the same time, just the sweetness of that too, just, you know, going in and them liking what I have, and then at the same time just being genuine people. But it's one of those things that to be able to have your son be able to see that not only are people that are of big importance that are there, but they're also very normal people, and being able to be a part of that. But and I know that we're kind of going a little bit off of the thing, but it's just.
Well, I'm going somewhere with it.
Okay.
That is, it's wonderful to have your son.
It is.
And children they're not children anymore work with you. It's a whole other thing to have a son come to you and say, "Dad, yeah, we want to reach more people.
Yeah,
we want you to speak into their life." Because, you know, Bob, for the years I've known you, your work is all over the world, and your family speaks for itself. When you walk into the gallery right there between Barnes and Noble and Cavender's, on 250 Loop 50.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
You know, in Midland, it's amazing. You feel peace when you walk in there. Everyone, you need to go in there. We need to support each other. But and your amazing work, the nature of your work is so colorful. It's just, oh man, it's wonderful. But it's also a wonderful place to have these gatherings that you've been having, and which is amazing. You experience a healing.
Yes.
You know, Brother Ron Till prayed for you, and you experienced a healing.
Sure.
And he prays with everybody. I love that about him.
I do too.
And but you know what? You're hungry to even expand even more. You know, for some meetings, and even more zero in on the specific needs of the younger generation as well. man, what a dream to work with your children that grow up in this, but then to also see you as the minister that you are and ask you to. So on the horizon, you have events and you've done cool things, special gallery showings as well. You know, you're bringing the light in the world. But tell us, what are you seeing, man? So that those of us who want to see young people come, all ages, but we really want to see people come to Jesus, who may respond in a different way than what's currently there. What's in your heart? What's on the horizon there, and how can we get behind it?
So Zach and I have been talking about different things, and one of the great things about doing those trips, we get to spend a lot of time with each other, and we talk about the Lord a lot, and it's just been a neat deal. And those meetings have actually, I mean, they've one of the things I love that Ron says is it woke something up inside of me, and it's one of those things that it's like once you see a miraculous thing happen, it definitely makes you aware of the more of the supernatural. But what's been really cool is that it also has woken things in my family, because 10 years of migraines, and I mean, not like oh, I have a migraine today so I got to sit out. Daily migraines, severe migraines.
I remember.
Every day, and it affects you, and it affects how you communicate and how you experience life with your family, and you're more irritable, all these different things. To see that miraculous change, and then it stirs something up inside my whole family. It woke our whole family up.
Wow.
And it's been neat to see, as we've been going after that, we've also seen more hunger. And Zack was talking to me, and as we were kind of going at it, he's like, Dad, we need to do another night. We need to do another night. We got to have more time for this. We need to get, further into it. And
more regular.
Yeah.
And you said the word consistency,
Mm-hmm.
how important that is to your generation.
And so, first of all, that was a huge honor that my son would mention that he would want us to do it. But then he, was wanting me to kind of head that up, which is really it's something that's, as a father, that's a big deal. You normally think that people would look for other, especially your own children. You would think that, but it's a huge honor that he would want me to and see something inside of me to want to see us be able to do something that's just uniquely ours. And at the same time, I really feel like that as we progress and we keep doing the things that we're doing, I still want to keep continuing the events that we have, but I also want to add something that is a little bit more backed by the gallery. That's just our gallery kind of doing that. So it has kind of that family feel, but also that we almost like a home group type deal, especially as we kind of start this next thing. I want it to feel like that people can just begin to be less formal, and at the same time to be able to start getting lost in the Spirit, to be able to go in and just really make an encounter with God. I believe that if we have, as a people, give opportunity for encounters will change our lives. My preaching or my teaching is one thing, it'll add to it, but that encounter is what is life-changing. Once you've experienced God, you're messed up and it's real. That's the whole thing that I love about the Jesus people, is that they were looking for something really real. And I think sometimes we can over-religiousize, if that's a word.
Oh, yeah.
The whole thing, instead of just making it simple. And I think the simplicity of the gospel is so important, and the simplicity of just getting in there and having communion with the Lord and having relationship with God, and then helping direct as we have questions and directions, but also letting them hunger for it and to learn it on their own, and not just feel like, oh, well, Bob or whoever's up there is going to tell me what's right, but to be able to let them understand that the Holy Spirit, He teaches us, that He is the one we go to. He's the Father to the fatherless.
Yes.
He's the one that makes us gives us the love. He created everything. The only reason why we can love is because God gave us that ability.
Yeah.
He is that. And that to be able to have communion with the creator of the world, the actual essence of love Himself, the fulfillment that we get in that relationship is just beyond words. And I think that if we can get people to be able to experience that encounter with God, it's life-changing. And it's the one thing that has, changed my life since I was young. And then another awakening as we begin to see the encounters with God.
Well, because you're no stranger to ministry. That's why it doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me. You know, I mean, you've been involved in youth ministry. You've been involved with associate pastoring. You and Darla, you know, you've had years of ministry, and ministry is no stranger to you.
No.
But you're right. Sometimes we can make it so hard. You know, we work in the world.
Yes.
You know, I have an ad agency. You know, I'll lead worship or preach or speak, but that's not my livelihood. My livelihood is in the marketing world, the broadcasting world. You know, and I'll talk about Jesus on CBS without getting censored, which amazes me. I interview celebrities and stuff, but I make my living in the world. And so when you do that, you see you're in the world. You're dealing with people.
Yeah.
And I've been in the church world, and so have you, and then I've been in the marketplace, and those can be two different worlds. Its own dress code, its own language, and it's easy to forget if you're not careful. You know, we'll have outreaches, but if you're not careful, you're in a different world, speaking a different language, and the world's like, huh? That's why it's important to have engagement in the marketplace, and a lot of you do. Jeremy Sutton of Lifehouse, man, I love that man. Incredible pastor, and Christy produces his shows. I'm a volunteer when I come to GLC. You know, the shows that I put on GLC, I'm a volunteer. But to work in the world, you can start right off the bat with a conversation. Hey, do you know Jesus?
Yeah.
How you doing, man?
Yeah.
Hey, can I pray with you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But there's an old story that we would tell in the business world. If you don't mind, I'll
yeah, no.
You know, this businessman, he's in Cancun, and he sees this brother, this Mexican brother, you know, fishing. And he said, "Man, looks like you look so relaxed. You know, what's your life look like?" And he goes, "Well, I kiss my wife. I fish all day long. I take the fish home, and she cooks it. I play cards with my friends, you know, have a siesta, you know." Wow, that sounds great. Hey, why don't you get a fleet of boats? Because you're catching a lot of fish. Yeah, see? Well, get a fleet of boats and make a business. And then out of the business, move to Manhattan and get a bigger business and then start an empire. And the guy goes, "Well, why would I want to do that?" He goes, "So that you can sit on the beach and fish and take it home." And in other words, so many times what we already have is what we're looking for.
Yeah.
And we don't have to do all this stuff to operate on what we already have. And when our goal is to make Jesus known instead of to make ourselves known,
Yeah.
then we can step into that. And yet God opens up the world. You've been in vocational ministry, always once a minister, always a minister, but God allowed you to expand to the secular world.
Oh, yeah.
A very successful way in the world marketplace. But everyone sees your light everywhere you go. And when they come into the gallery, they feel it. They feel a presence of peace. They see the light. So we don't have to make it so hard, do we?
No, I think that the simpler, the better. And at the same time, I also think that it's so important. The local church, our churches are very important to a part of our communities. It's a lighthouse, you know, in a sense, for people to be able to go to, because if people don't always know that we're doing stuff or that our businesses have that we're going after those things. But it does, you know, typically a church is that lighthouse to go to. So I again, don't want to say anything that would be negating the importance of that. But I also think that there's a part of people that don't feel like that's the place for them.
Right.
And they don't feel comfortable in those environments. You know, a lot of times, and not saying that it's the way that the church is, but I think that there's a demonic realm, and the demonic realm wants them to feel like they're not worthy to be in that place because they're so horrible. And the thing is that we're all horrible and we're all unworthy. And if it wasn't for Christ, we wouldn't be able to come into his presence. And that with Christ, we are in Christ. And because of that, we're his righteousness. And you can't be more righteous than who he is. And so that gives us access to everything that he's got, and gives us access to be able to go into his presence boldly.
Preach now, brother.
see great things.
Praise the Lord, Pastor Salsa. But you're right. You're right.
And I think that when they have opportunity to come someplace where they can feel like, hey, you know, everybody comes in here, it's not a big deal. I think that then there's more opportunity. And I think even with young people, you know, I think that there's different ones that gives us opportunity that wouldn't ordinarily probably feel comfortable, even in a church environment. You know, it's a lot more relaxed and it's not so formal that it makes it difficult. Sometimes we can make it so difficult for people to be able to just feel comfortable about talking about the Lord.
Well, something else, another element. You know, you've mentored artists, other artists too. You know, usually if you have a wildly successful artist, they don't want anyone else's work in their gallery. You feature other artists too. Absolutely. And highlight other artists. You know, Lucifer goes after artistic people and young people too. Artistic young people. We've seen what happens in the music industry. You know, the 27 Club. What is that? Well, Jim Morrison, you know, Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, I believe Kurt Cobain. I mean, the list goes on where he wants to capture those artistic people where they are and have them sell their souls. We know that Jesus can redeem any soul, but sell their souls. And he wants to capture the creative people. Those also happen to be the same demographic of people that many times are bullied in school or even in college. And I always find it interesting, having worked with at-risk kids and I used to go into Andrews and speak to 800 kids every other week. You know, when we were promoting the concerts with Greg Griffin's What Yeshua Can Do. Amazing man, amazing ministry. But, you know, so ironic it is, folks, in case you don't know, that so many of the kids that do the bullying, they're trying to emulate these celebrities that were bullied themselves when they were young. Because why? Because they were artistic. You know, they were musical. And you're catching the artistic crowd that all too often the occult reaches into, right? So many times the modern art scene can so easily go into circles of the goth and this, that, and the other. And so the enemy tries to so I think it's so beautiful that you have the vision to engage people where they are, to be in the marketplace, to not have a barrier. Biker Bob may never go to your church, but he'll come sit on a couch.
Yeah, he will.
Or he'll come to your art gallery.
Yeah, he does.
Right? And maybe after a relationship with Jesus and his people, then we saw that in Amarillo. Yeah. People would come to Synergy where we were doing gatherings, but a lot of them would become absorbed into his church, right?
Yeah.
And so, hey, praise God, you know. But what you're hungering for, Zack, in addition to your dad, is you said the word consistency. Mm-hmm. You said the word trust, and consistently projecting trust and the love of Jesus.
Exactly.
That's what your generation wants.
Yeah, definitely. They, with all the news and everything, we're so open to information. We see how corrupt a lot of different things are. And from what I've seen, they tend to not trust big organizations and different things like that because they've seen it so often in news media and just all over the world. So whenever they see something that's just kind of independent and it's not backed by any organization or anything, it's just like home groups, it's like in the gallery with the gathering, stuff like that. It's natural, and it's a bunch of believers coming together to just worship the Holy Spirit and to experience that. And they can see how genuine that is and how there's no ulterior motive. And that really draws them in. And that's something that really appeals to them.
You know, it was shocking, training for outreach marketing 25 years ago, that most people that did come to your church, and this is still true, it's good for you to know, would decide in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Before the band started, before the sermon, if they were ever coming back. What decided that? Did they feel welcome? Did they feel accepted? And it's still that way, folks. You know, John Maxwell says that the church could be the largest organization in America with all the right people in the wrong places. Well, we love the church and we want you to succeed. And so as an encouragement to you, it thrills me when I see churches like Lifehouse or others that are, and so many great ones here in Permian Basin. They're doing it right. They're having the right people in the right places, you know, and you don't want an introvert being the first point of contact, you know. Welcome to our church. Yeah. but you might want that introvert as an intercessor that knows how to get in the secret place, right? All that to say is we want you all to do very, very well in this hour. And I want anyone that wants to bring people to Jesus to succeed for that very purpose. Time is short. You know, you may be the only Bible that people read. And but it's amazing. It's amazing just saying, hey, how you doing, man?
Yeah.
Are you okay? Hey, I see you. You doing all right? That's worth more sometimes than 1,000 sermons. And so when they finally come to see you preach your sermon, they know you.
Yeah.
Because you took the time to notice them. And again, I always want to be positive towards the church.
Yes.
Okay. And you know, that's an incredible thing. I got my beautiful wife, Christy, in that studio, who doesn't want to be on camera, but you all love it when she is. And that's how you know, the reluctant ones are often the ones the Lord uses in a powerful way, or we just want to make Jesus known. But you know, there's a wonderful big church doing so many great things, man. You know, and every Wednesday they would have a staff lunch and go to this restaurant, you know. They didn't really notice the foreign exchange student though. You know, the Asian foreign exchange student, but you know, they still had a great lunch, had a great time, and got to celebrate their wins, all the incredible things they were doing in the community, right? Well, that young man would go on. That young man that nobody talked to, not just the church people, but anyone, maybe no one talked to him about Jesus. I don't know. But that young man would go on and start the Vietnam War. His name was Ho Chi Minh. He remembers that church.
Wow.
And so, no shame, no blame. I don't know about you, but no matter how much success we have in reaching people, I want to notice people.
Yeah.
Are you sitting alone? Why don't you come over? You know what I mean? And God is in control. God knew how history would unfold. No shame on anybody. Please understand that. But as an encouragement, as you do great things, great exploits for the kingdom, may we never be in a position where we slay the dragons and we win millions to Jesus Christ, to Yeshua HaMashiach, but we don't notice the person that's right next to us that needs that one word, because we never know when that one word of encouragement or even asking how you doing, I see you, are you okay, will change the world and save tens of thousands of lives. You know, you weren't born just to pay bills and die. You weren't born as your mama may have told you you're an accident, but you weren't. Psalm 139 says that your days were written in his book before you were born. That's why I don't have fear. Do I have fear, baby? Do I have anxiety of the future and the fear? No. Why? Because I'm just so great? No. Because I know who he is. And in Psalm 139, he knew us before he knit us together in the mother's womb. The days of our lives were written before we were born. And if we know that, all we have to do is walk it out. There's not a Hebrew word for coincidence. Those of you who are big into Hebrew, you know, there's not. In the kingdom, there's no coincidences. There's no chance meetings. Zack, there's no chance meeting that you are sitting in a chair right now saying words that will be heard by millions of people for as many years as they can obtain it. So in this time, I'm excited for you guys, you know, and I love what's been happening. The lives that have been changed. That's just one thing. You know, there's another hero of yours you got to meet this weekend, Larry Lee.
Yeah.
You know, the father of the modern day prayer movement. We had breakfast this morning with he and Leah, you know, hopefully you'll see him as well. But you may have even Larry come over sometime.
That'd be awesome.
And all that as well. But Zack, what can we do? What can we do as viewers, and what can we do as believers to seize the moment and to make sure that your generation has all the encouragement and support to be the light of the world?
The one thing that I can say is just to love them, to display God's love, to be ambassadors of God, to bring them in, to show them that they're loved and cared for. That shows through everything. Even if you have the wrong motivations, you might have things that you're not doing right. That love will cover it all, and it'll change them. It draws them in, and it changed my life. So that's the one thing I can say is just love them. Study God's love and experience it. Ask the Holy Spirit to show himself to you, and he'll transform you. And people will see it, and that will change other people's lives.
Wow,
That's powerful.
that's powerful. Thank you. Bob, how would you encourage people?
Man, I tell you, back to love, man. We were created for his love. We were created to be known by him and to know him. And that in that is everything. That's everything we need is right there. And if I can encourage people to hunger after God, to ask him to show himself real. If he's real, he'll show himself, right? You know?
It's that simple, isn't it?
It is that simple.
Jesus plus nothing.
Yeah.
You know, when you love Jesus, you love his people.
I mean, we were talking about the Jesus movement guy, and I just think it's just crazy. And his testimony, when you go back and you look at it, the guy was seeking a higher power, in a sense, but he was also highly medicated in that process. And God showed up in the middle of his medicated state and wrecked his world. When you have an encounter with the creator of the world,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter where you're at. And I'm saying I would encourage desperation to just go after everything you can with God, to see if he's real. Ask him if he's real. Ask him to show himself real. And at the same time, open yourself up. Open yourself up to be loved by the creator of the world. You were designed for that.
Love, man. You know, someone famous once said, all you need is love. You know, John Lennon, his father abandoned him when he was young. And it really hurt him, as it should. And when the Beatles hit their stride, his father showed up at a concert. And he said, he asked to see him, and John said a few words. He didn't want to see him, and he finally let him see him. And he said the words, you know, when I was younger, so much younger than today, I didn't need anybody to help me. Sound familiar?
Mm-hmm.
The song Help would come from what he said. And John didn't want to see him. John later found out that his dad died. And he really felt guilty about it. So he wrote a letter to a very well-known minister and said, would you come to me and tell me about Jesus? And the minister said, well, I'm booked up for 6 months, but I'll do it after that. And some way or one reason or another, it didn't happen. And but even the world knows that what you need is love. You know, there's a popular social media thing about this Satanist that begins to cry. And what won him over was not arguments, religious arguments. It wasn't someone pointing out to him the evil and the dangers of the occult. It was a little prayer warrior woman refusing to take no for an answer that wanted to give him a hug and love on him. And that's what brought him to Jesus. You know, it was 1998, Tulsa, Oklahoma. And Marilyn Manson came to town. Do you remember that? It's a big deal. And everyone had all their big signs ready to protest. You know, you're going to hell, you know, and you're evil, and, you know, and God help him. He was a preacher's kid.
Mm.
And, but we went there because we wanted to minister to people when he came to Tulsa. Well, I'm a warrior at heart. And I thought, okay, this is going to get ugly, because not only were there people whose signs were anything but love, but there were some big bad dudes there that were definitely of the occult. It didn't look good. It wasn't looking good. And there wasn't any law enforcement yet. Well, my friend Jeff was with me, and Jeff was, comes about here on me at that time. CPA, love the Lord. I called him Prayer Sniper because he just loves to pray for people. So I'm thinking, okay, if this gets bad, I saw this other guy. He was also he was a someone to protect people, and a martial artist. And I said, okay, if this gets bad, I'm going to throw Jeff into the back of your truck, okay? And you know what I mean? So I'm thinking this. I'm thinking carnally, and it's getting heated. You could feel the evil. It's almost like demons swirling above Cain's ballroom, I believe is where it was. And the protesters, you're going to hell, and and I'm thinking, where's Jeff? Where's Jeff? I look over, where's Jeff? Jeff's against the wall of that building praying. He wasn't afraid. And his responses to those people was love. May we be so fearless that we have a dangerous love. We love people like Jesus does.
Absolutely.
Walking up to a hardened fisherman with a cussing problem.
Yeah.
That uses the imperfect people. Samson had a prostitute problem. Moses had a temper problem. Peter had a language issue. David had a murder problem, an adultery problem, right? The list goes on. Abraham had a lying problem and a faith problem. But they are not defined by their failures. They're defined by who Jesus sees in them. I see great things in you, and great things in you. And there's great things in you. And so we want Jesus to be known. Follow him. And I just love this. But I just had to have you come on, to Live the Southwest and talk about that. Callender's Gallery. You got to go there anyway.
Yeah.
You got to go there anyway. We're in oil field country, ag and oil.
Yeah.
That's some new things you're about to see too, but programming wise, but you're going to need a great, fantastic, electrified, living oil field heritage, culture type of piece anyway in your office. You definitely want it when your clients come in. Well, Bob Callender is already known around the world. That's a whole nother show about how God did that for you. You didn't expect that.
No, did not.
But you know what? When you delight yourself in the Lord, and he'll give you the desires of your heart. And you've delighted yourself in the Lord for a long time.
Absolutely. And he has. In fact, that whole deal of becoming an internationally known photographer, it was not something I had planned at all. And it was something that was all birthed out of frustration. And it was one of those things where, as God is leading us, and sometimes it gets rough. And we talked about that at times, and how that I love the sermon that Larry Lee preached about how that sometimes he's got to take you low to lift you up.
Yeah.
And in this particular situation, I was frustrated with some other people that I had tried to talk into doing this. And out of frustration, I decided I'd go out and shoot. And a long story short, my very first image went international and outsold some of the top selling artists in the nation. And just one of those things that you don't know what God has in store for you, and to be willing to just go ahead and step out, even in that frustration, to go ahead and just step out and see what God does. There's always good things planned for us. God has great things in store for us, all of us. And I want to encourage that willingness to just rest and trusting, even in a frustrating moment. It had to be very frustrating for Joseph when in the pit when his brothers. Could you imagine?
A little frustrating, yeah.
Can you imagine how unloved you would feel?
Yeah.
Your own brothers.
Yeah.
To throw you in. For me, I the things I shoot, I think of my brothers, and I have a great love for them, and because I have the love back
Yeah.
from them, and my dad, and all that. Which of course Joseph had that side of it, but I couldn't imagine. I'm the youngest of 10, not the size of Joseph, but pretty good size as far as family. And to think that my family wouldn't want me around would make me feel pretty low. But
Yeah.
not only that, to be thinking about killing me, it's just crazy. But to be able to keep believing in that there's still something good out there.
Still believe?
God still has something for me. And that there's always, and then from Potiphar's wife to all the different things, it just is amazing. But I want to make sure that as we're speaking about different things, that we begin to trust God and that we still dream those dreams that God has for us, that they're always good. And sometimes we don't know, even I didn't know I could do photography. In fact, I thought I was a terrible photographer.
And it hits the jackpot in terms of exposure. International Oilfield Magazine. Of course, you know what? God also knew. I mean, he chose well. The people of West Texas, they're resilient. They're not like this in Dallas. Anywhere else in the world, they're resilient. In Texas, I mean, it can't be Texas. Jean-Claude Chavam, who I need to reconnect with. He used to be on GLC. Oh, Brent. He would say, you always know when someone's from Texas overseas. They don't say I'm from America. I'm from Texas. And if you're from West Texas, they really say I'm from West Texas, right? But there's a resiliency. But you know what? You grew up in the heritage of the oil field.
Absolutely.
Now I hear about who you are equally about as I do about your artwork. Nobody I've ever talked to in this area that has been fond of your great artwork, do they ever leave out the man you are? They don't. Your reputation as a good man on the street is just as good as your artwork.
Wow.
But even your father wanted to hear the sound of the oil field.
Yeah.
On his deathbed. Yeah. And he wanted you to bring a tape, right?
Yeah.
Of the sound of the rig.
Yeah.
Oh man.
It's one of those things you just don't think about how that, I guess the music part of it, he's like, his music to my ears. And I'm just like, Dad, I don't understand that. Because if you're out there on it and it's clanging, it's loud and the engines are running and all the things that are going on. But to him, it's a symphony and it's something totally different. And that was the beginning of the change of how I saw the oil field and be able to see it through my dad's eyes and my brother's
That'll
eyes.
preach. Well, what the world may see as calamity or whatever is really progress.
Yeah.
Right?
It is. I mean, you could tell just by hearing it where they were at almost in the hole and what was going on just by listening. And
that's love. There's a culture, which you've done things, Legends of the Oil Field.
Yes.
And I'm excited to see what you're going to do even more with some of that stuff, But there's a culture here and there's a resiliency of the people here. The West Texas people are wonderful. And I also count that with, the Panhandle as well.
I agree.
Panhandle people, I mean, people don't realize that this is the last bastion of American freedom. It's the most it's the richest and also most patriotic, I would say, place in the country, in my opinion.
One of the old sayings about a Texan is you don't have to ask a Texan where he's from because he'll tell you.
Yeah, he'll tell you before you ask,
Yeah.
Well,
we're a little proud of.
You talked about Joseph and God positioned him. He was a prince in the pit before he was a prince in the palace.
Yeah.
Some of you may be in a pit right now, but you are a royal priesthood. You're alive right now. I think we're going to find out that we asked to be alive at this place in history.
Yeah.
I really believe that. Wouldn't surprise me. I'm doing what I knew I would do as a boy.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I was looking forward to it. Turned 56 last week. Some of you, oh, he's just a kid. Well, some days I feel like a kid, some days I don't. But you know what, though? There are no accidents. There are no chance meetings. There's no coincidences. So flourish in where you are.
Yeah.
And be fearless. Have courage. Put on the armor of God. It's armor for a reason. You know how cute it is to have all these little kids in their football uniforms and they cry when they get tackled? Well, it's okay, little buddy. That's what the pads are for. That's what the armor is for. We are in the arena of this universe fighting good and evil. And we're told to put on the armor of God. You know, when I wear knight armor and give the quote of knighthood on a coin, you know, the first thing I put on is this 45-pound chainmail. And I call that the garment of praise. And you know what? It can be really heavy. It can be heavy, especially if we're an older dude, right? Told God for 20 years I wasn't going to do it. Then my son gets excited about it, so then we both do it. Yeah. But you know what, though? That happens. What starts out heavy that is almost impenetrable, it doesn't feel heavy if your posture is right. This is a time to get your posture right, to put on the garment of praise, to start every day with a thank you, God, to put on that armor. It's there for a reason. Yeah. And as we talked about in the men's meet last night, KG, Kingdom's Gate, Common Ground, that Larry Lee started.
That's crazy.
And we were reminiscent about the revival that happened 12 years ago. One night turned into 22 nights when the father of the modern prayer movement had men pray in Andrews, Texas, and the church exploded and baptisms. Boy, it's amazing what happens if you put the prayer before the program. But we got to put on the armor of God.
And I love the praise, you know, how Larry Lee would, you know, how we start into prayer.
Yeah.
And to start into prayer, into praise. Yeah. And before you even start asking for anything, or start talking about anything. To me, that's just an awesome thing. And then as we were talking about that last night, he brings it back that not only do you start with it, but you end with it.
Yeah.
And it's just a powerful way to pray. It totally changed my prayer life, and also your relationship with the Lord. It just was it's a different way. It's the language of God. It's how we get into that place. And so many times, you know, we were talking about last night, how do you pray? How do you kind of go after things, especially after getting to be around Larry Lee and the legend that he is. And it was just it was an awesome time. And but it's just kind of a cool thing to get to experience and to be around, and to think about how I'm having a huge, over 10,000 people church, and then to come to, I mean, not even 100 people, and just give and pour out like he was in front of, 10,000 people, and at the same time to spend the time and loving on people. And to me, that just shows the character, and it shows his hunger for the Lord. And to hear him talk about what got him, what birthed that whole thing, just inspired me. And it was just like, man, his desperation to know that, hey, look, my preaching doesn't match my prayer life. And then the things that were going on at that particular time brought him to a point where he would be back at home in the same bed that he graduated from. And it was just one of those things that, and then to spend the time just to birth that thing out of desperation. And to me, I think that's such it says a lot. You can see great things.
Oh, and he started as a young man.
Yeah.
He was 17 years old, having a nervous breakdown.
Wow. Being
treated. They were doing chemically things to him that you don't recover from. He should have been in a coma.
Wow.
It should have been illegal. And he had an encounter with Jesus in his room, and INRI, you know how Catholic hospitals will have that. Not only is he in his right mind and coherent and preaching, I think he was 17 years old. He's running down, you have the carts when you're still hooked up with your IV. He's running down the carts and he's holding that cross with the INRA. He goes, his name's not Henry. His name's not Henry. His name's not Henry. It's Jesus. It's Yeshua.
Love that.
In Egypt, it says, we've seen people coming to Jesus all over the world. What an exciting time to be alive. Call me crazy, but I don't have time to get depressed. I don't. I mean, hey, you have up times and down times. Jesus was a man of sorrows at times. Sometimes you have to identify with the loneliness of Jesus.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to put up with people lying about you, or whatever. But you know what, though? If you're in a plane and the plane's going down, Christy likes to watch these plane shows. What happened? Find out what happened, how the plane goes down. One time she was watching one right before I went to fly to Egypt on an 18-hour flight. Oh, I'm sorry, honey. But yeah, it's funny. She's wonderful. But if you're on a plane and it's going down, what are you doing?
She's giggling off camera, by the way.
Yeah, I know. Are you recounting your offenses? No. What are you doing if a plane's going down? Lord, I forgive everybody.
Yeah.
I forgive myself, and search me out. Is there any offensive way in me? Right? All have sinned and fallen short of the glory. Lord, I'm not guilty of this, but I do know what it's like to fall short. I thought the other day, a day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is like a day to the Lord. Have you sinned in the last 1,000 years?
Yeah.
Then you're still a sinner that needs to be saved by grace, right?
Yeah.
And that's what he does for us. A grateful man is grateful. You can't give what you don't possess. That's why you're a grace guy. It's so easy right now in our culture, and we see it because we publish books too. You can get caught up in so much of the aesthetics. You can want so bad to be a name or to sell your book that you're going to develop your own little take on the gospel and what meant to be the veil, the 8-story veil that Rico Cortez talked about. Remember Rico? That was ripped in two. The veil was 8 stories high.
That's crazy.
Jesus gave us direct access to the Father. Beware of people who think that you need to go through them to get to the Father. He's accessible. He's with us. Emmanuel, God with us, revealed in us. As he is, so we are in the world. So you have direct access to us. Made a statement. Larry Lee brought Keith Green to the Midwest. He also had Amy Grant. He was so instrumental because he was over youth for what is the college? Forgive me.
Christ for the Nations?
What?
Christ
for the Nations, yes. Hundreds of young people getting saved, and he was bringing all these artists that weren't popular yet. Keith Green was one of them. The lady comes up to Keith Green, I have a word from the Lord for you. And Keith Green says, thank you, but I'm taking my own messages. Right now, we're seeing a lot of craziness, a lot of things happening. We're also seeing the prophecy is real. It's real.
It is.
But we're also seeing an industry right now where it's you're not walking along people in their lives every day. It's sensationalism. It's thrill seeking. You got to come through me. Otherwise, the grace of Jesus isn't sufficient. You got to come through me to get my secret knowledge that Paul talked about. That's danger. We got to get back to the basics. We got to get back to Jesus. And that's what you're hungry for. That's what you're hungry for. Jesus and the love of Jesus and what he has done. Of all the religions of the world, only one is not dependent upon what you do.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
But what's been done for you?
It's all dependent on grace, which is love.
Grace and love.
Well,
that just, whether you got grace means you can't just go live like. Let me tell you something. If you've really received grace, those of us who know we deserve hell.
Yeah.
But we've been saved by grace. When you really receive it, saved by grace through faith, right?
That's right.
We're going to act different.
Yeah.
We're going to be different.
It's the greatest thing about God is his love.
Yeah.
That is the greatest thing. It's the most powerful thing about God. If you could put one thing, that would be the one thing, because that's the one thing that he would have given up everything for.
Yeah.
And that's the love for us. And that's crazy.
It's crazy love.
It is.
But isn't it music to your ears?
It really is. Yeah.
We don't have to make it hard. Start where you are. I want to know when the first one is where you're sharing and you're presenting. You have years of ministry. A lot of people may not know that. A lot of people do. But isn't it wonderful that we can help each other? A high tide raises all ships. We're in this together. We're in this together. Your win is my win. My win is your win. And you don't have to be perfect
No.
to let God use you. In our weakness, he is strong. In our imperfection, he's made perfect.
He uses imperfect people from the beginning.
Let me tell you something. Hey, look, it's very foolish to say, everyone look at me, follow me, take a shot at me.
Yeah, it is.
It's like standing up in a firefight. I'd rather be a grunt in the mud. But there's times when he doesn't let us do that. Embrace those moments. Step into those seasons.
Man.
And when he is your source of identity, when there's no ego involved, it doesn't matter what people say about you. God knows the truth.
Amen.
He's the only one who matters. And Bob Callender and Zack Callender, man, you guys inspire me, and made these gatherings that happen every month, but also these new things that you're going to do at Callender's Gallery. Jesus in you, as you, in the marketplace. What a wonderful time to minister together. And this has been another great Light of the Southwest. God bless you. We'll see you next time.